All right, welcome to my video, the top 10 reasons Babe Ruth still rocks. Coming in at number 10, sickness did not stop him. As we know, he had some pretty bad health problems. Obviously, he was a carouser, womanizer. He had a drinking and a gambling issue, and of course everyone knows the bellyache heard around the world occurred in 1925 when he collapsed after feeling cramped up. And he did recover from that and play the rest of the season. Nevertheless, he still was rumored to have illness that he had to play through. Number 9, his past isn't fully known. He's a bit of a mystery to us. We don't know too much about his siblings. We do know that he had 7 brothers and sisters, but only one survived to adulthood. We don't know much about his father. We certainly don't know much about his mom. We know that he grew up in a poor neighborhood in Baltimore, but there's not much more than we know about that. So he's a bit of a man of mystery. Number 8, he saw past color. What this man would do is despite what was going on at that time, of course, racism was very rampant in that day, in that time, and Negro players were not allowed to play. African American players were not allowed to play in the major leagues, and that was unfortunate. And so what Babe Ruth would do is he would go and he would play for fundraisers. He would go to play exhibition games against African Americans. He would go and play with just off season, if you will, with these players, because he refused to see the color. Players were players, baseball was baseball, and that's the way it should have been. And so I appreciate that about him. Put that there as number 8. Number 7, he was loved on and off the field. He was one of the first athletes to have a personal trainer, one of the first athletes to have a sports agent, because he recognized that the need to be representative of not only on the field but off the field was important, and of course he needed to have those people there to help him do that. And so he was definitely an athlete that was he was one of the first modern celebrity athletes and ahead of his time, and I had to put that on there, that at number 7. Number 6, he wasn't scared. Even during the time that his career was going on, there was a lot of tension. Of course, it was just before World War II, and there was tension in Japan particularly, and nevertheless Babe would still go over there, and he did a tour of Japan, which of course brought out a lot of fans that were in Japan, and really helped the U.S.-Japan relations. And Babe Ruth, in fact, was struck out at that time when he went over there. And of course that just sent the career of that Japanese pitcher on the rise, because he struck out the great American Babe Ruth. So number 6, he wasn't scared. He went to Japan and had to put that on the list. Number 5, he was a giver. As many people know, he was very, very charitable with what he did. He had a lot of charitable contributions, particularly orphanages, and the fact that he was a giver is appreciated and had to definitely show up on the list. Number 4, he was a legend and is a legend. Obviously, his famous and part of the reason, one of the reasons, there's several reasons. One of the reasons I put that on the list is the famous point, the point to the outfield, the point that this is going over the fence before the pitch comes down the pipe, and he does just that. And of course, that is a very famous picture. We can all see that, the Babe Ruth point, and that follow-up home run that goes over and clears the fence. Number 3, he is bigger and badder than we know. I put that on the list because we know that he's hit 714 home runs, but what some don't know is this does not include his postseason home runs. And these postseason home runs are when he played, like I'd mentioned before, in Negro League teams. That's what they called them, with the African American players. He played local players, fellow major leaguers as well. These were exhibition games. And so when we take into account those in-season 714, or in-season career home runs of 714, we add in the postseason home runs during these exhibition games, and he's fallen in somewhere around 1,030 plus home runs. So he's even bigger and badder than we know. Number 2, he shouldn't have died. Unfortunately, he passed away due to having throat cancer. He, of course, it's no surprise because he was quite the carouser, as I'd mentioned. Unfortunately, due to drinking and smoking, it took its toll. He tried to undergo an experimental treatment to try and save his life, but unfortunately he passed away at 53, which is just too young. And who knows what would have happened if he had continued to live life out to the fullest. He certainly had a lot of notable achievements, but to die that way is certainly no way to go. And so it's unfortunate that he died that way. Number one, and last but not least, of course, he rocks. He still rocks, and he's still the best. I mean, let's compare apples to apples. We know that his records have been beaten. We know that the numbers have long since been surpassed. But what we have to keep in perspective to compare apples to apples is that his career was over 100 years ago, and when you compare that with today, with the technology, with all those sort of things, and the training, the supplementations, all the different techniques and that are current. He didn't have those back then in that day. And given that, compared to today, he is still by far the best baseball player by any stretch. So appreciate you watching. Thanks so much for watching the top 10 reasons Babe Ruth still rocks. Have a good one.